everybody. I'm Nicole Rios, and I've got opinions. Today, we are going to talk about something that is super close to my heart. It's really what my specialty's in and what I work with people doing every day. And that is stress management. That is living a healthy life amongst the chaos, which I feel like we can't help but see in our current world. So, aside from dividing lines, aside from politics and party affiliations, or however you feel about the current events of the day, we all are experiencing a significant amount of stress. We all feel it in the air, even outside of politics. I've talked to plenty of people who felt like January is kicking their butt. And we don't want to start the year that way. So I'm going to bring you some of my tried and true stress management skills and just some extra ideas that can help you survive the moment, which is really the idea. I find that I often coach best from my personal experience, and I can tell you I've been experiencing a lot of anger lately. I feel very frustrated with a lot of the things that are happening in the world, and my anger is definitely building inside me and coming out in my life. So if you guys feel the same or feel like you know people who are struggling with frustration or anger, or you're just overall high level of stress, this episode is for you. Um, so when I talk about stress management, the first thing that I go to is something called DBT. DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy. It's a form of therapy that helps people to manage their physical actions, their impulsivity, their emotions that get them a little out of control. And this is kind of the practical way that, when paired with cognitive therapy, which is normal talk therapy with a therapist, can help you identify some of your negative patterns and then go back and fix them. Um, I think that one of the really interesting things about DBT is that it forces you to identify emotions, but B, rank them based on intensity. And the idea in DBT is that we have a subjective unit of distress scale. Okay, so it's called the SUD scale, subjective units of distress. Now it's independent to each of us. That's what makes it subjective. And it says that when I'm experiencing emotion, I can rank it on a scale from 0, which means that it has no impact on me, to 100, which means this is the most intense I've ever felt this emotion. I'm about to explode. And it can be applied to any emotion. It can be applied to a positive emotion or a negative emotion. That doesn't matter. The idea is that we're starting to identify and measure the intensity of our emotions so that we can start to build awareness. So in DBT, when we have an emotion that's ranked 70 or above, we're considered in distress. This is when we need to use distress tolerance techniques that bring us down below 70. The reason that is because once we get to a subjective scale of 70 or above on our emotions, it usually means that we're beyond the point where we are using our rational brain. We have crossed over into animal brain. We're acting on instinct and reaction and adrenaline. We're not taking the time to process through or think about consequences or any of those things. When I'm working with young kids, or my son, even, we call this lost in the sauce. It's much harder to pull yourself back from impulsive thoughts, actions, feelings, any of that, and it's gone from like an emotion regulation place to a survive the moment place. Okay, so some of the things that we think about when we find ourselves in a distress tolerance situation where we've capped out a 70 to above in our emotion, and we need to figure out how to calm ourselves down so we can start using our rational brain again. I think that's the most important thing for people to understand, is that high emotions, we leave rational thought. It's behind us. We can't access it. Our brain is operating purely on survival mechanism. And we have to be able to calm our nervous system, which our brain is part of, calm our nervous system enough for our brain to say, okay, wait, I can think now. I don't have to react. I don't have to save my life. And these are all, supernatural processes that happen in our body because at some point we had to evade the saber-toothed tiger and we needed to be able to act quickly on instinct and our brain needed to be able to shut off that rational thought and just act. And so that is the mechanism that we now in this world where we're not fighting a saber-toothed tiger, we're just reading a headline that gets us agitated, we end up in those spaces. So we have to recognize how that's playing out in our life and how we are letting ourselves get above 70 maybe on a consistent basis, and how that is actually really negative for our health because we get all of those stress hormones, the cortisol, the adrenaline, and when we constantly run on that stuff, we get really wiped out. And it's not good for any of our body processes. So when we are trying to calm ourselves, the easiest thing to think about is five senses. When it comes to distress tolerance, we have to think about treating ourselves as if we're a child, okay? And what are the things that a child would appreciate when they're upset? So when we talk about the five senses, we always go to smell. What's better than walking into a kitchen that's baking cookies? It's great, right? We can apply that across other areas. So whether it's diffusing essential oils, whether it's putting on a favorite perfume, whether it's going and taking a bath with a bath bomb, any of those things can help us turn our moods. Fresh fragrances, citruses are very cleansing. We want to think about things that are going to uplift us. So any of those things, if you have a roller ball, any of those things can be really helpful in just shifting your brain chemistry. What we're talking about when we're trying to distress tolerance is doing things that shift our brain chemistry. Smells are one of those things. Smells are also very related to our memory center in our brain. So there may be something that like your mom's perfume that provides you a lot of comfort, or your laundry detergent, sometimes that blinky kind of feeling smell. All of those things can be really beneficial to you when you're stressed out. So think about what can I prepare myself with? For me, it's my essential oils. I use them all the time. For some people, it would be something else. But think about how can I incorporate smell into my calming routine? Obviously, we all know lavender is a really great smell, but again, think about those citruses also. We don't always have to go to the lavender. We can go to something cleansing to help us rid ourselves of that energy. The second and third one here of our senses are like our eyes and ears. So we think music, movies. A lot of times we get stuck on this one because when we're sad, we go to the Adele ballads and we listen to all the music that makes us boohoo and cry. Wrong way to do it, y'all. We want to think about doing something that's opposite to the emotion that we are experiencing to help us get out of the emotion that we're experiencing. The brain is really funny and it will chemically respond to anything it perceives. Brain doesn't really know the difference between real life and a movie. This is why women, when we wake up from a dream where our husband cheated on us, it feels real. We're pissed. We're mad at him. He's going to get it, right? It's because our brain and our emotion, the way that our brain triggers chemicals that make us feel emotions in our body, it doesn't distinguish between what we've seen in a movie or what we experience in real life. So if we are constantly watching violent movies or listening to angry music and we're confused why we're constantly like upset or feeling enraged or irritable or short-tempered, that's probably why you're reinforcing that chemical cycle in your body that makes you experience those negative things. And you're reinforcing that by continuing that to watch or consume that kind of media. So it would be my recommendation. Listen, nothing like a good stand-up, nothing like a good comedy. Stay away from the chick flicks and the boo-hoos. Go for the feel goods, go for the high intensity, like kind of like upbeat music. Try and choose something that's going to it's going to put you into an opposite emotion than what you're experiencing if you're in a negative emotion. The next one is, I can't skip this one. Exercise, y'all. It's the easiest way to relieve yourself of stress. It's the easiest way to get the heart rate into a healthy rhythm and lower your resting heart rate. A lot of times we feel stressed by just having a high resting heart rate, that kind of baseline irritation, anxiety, and making sure that we're exercising and exercising our heart and getting that cardio in. It really helps just bring that baseline anxiety down a bit, and it can help you vent those frustrations in a healthy way. So please get moving. That breath work really helps. A lot of times, we call this ujjayi breath, and it's the idea that when we exhale, we put our tongue to the top of our mouth, back of our throat a little bit to express our air with the sound of like ocean waves almost. So it would be like a deep inhale. So you intentionally make that audible exhale. And that is actually very calming for the nervous system. This helps the vagus nerve, which innervates kind of all of that, all of our organs, all of our heart, everything in our main trunk is innervated by that nerve. And when that nerve is irritable or tight, or reactive, it affects the way our digestion works. It affects the way that our liver processes. And that's why sometimes when we're anxious, we'll get diarrhea or we'll have stomach issues, is because that's all innervated by the same nerve. So when our anxiety gets going, it affects our internal organs. So that's why it's really important to keep the nerves calm, because then we can have healthy functioning organs. And that's really important to help manage the stress secondarily. So huge proponent for exercise, guys. Stay with it. If you can do at least 3 days a week, that's great. If you're 5 days a week, yes, keep going. I love it. If you guys are interested in getting into an exercise program and you need some help, let me know. I'm a trainer. I'd be happy to hook you up with something. Um, the next one is pets. If you got pets, love on them. I know sometimes when we're angry, we can get impatient with our pets, but they're a huge opportunity to feel purpose and comfort and love and joy. Play with them if you haven't played with them. Go for a walk, get outside. And that's the other one. Nature is a huge helper. I mean, I'm in a cold climate right now. As you can see, I've surrounded myself with plants. If you can't be outside, please find yourself a little desk plant or a house plant to have around. It helps clean your air. It gives your eyes something visually, something fresh and living to look at. We were made for the earth as humans. This is our planet for a reason, and our biology interacts so well with plants, guys. We are meant to have them in our life. Okay, so please get outside. The sunlight, the movement of being outside, the fresh air, it's super cleansing. It's going to make you feel a ton better. And it's also going to help with your circadian rhythm when you're in sunlight and you're getting fresh sun into your eyes. So if you have trouble sleeping, you don't sleep well, you have bad sleep patterns, getting outside for like 10 or 15 minutes a day and just getting that natural sunlight in your eyes is going to be super helpful just for everything, for your sleep, for feeling better, all of it. And it connects you back to what matters. When we are too engaged in a digital life, we lose connection with the earth, which is a really grounding force. We need it. And I always laugh at this touch grass kind of comment, but it is true. When we go out and we touch grass and we spend time in nature and we unplug from all the crazy online, it really does help us feel more connected and calm and purpose driven. So if you need to clear your mind, go for a walk outside. Um, and then, my last major one is going to be touch. You guys, we need connection. We need other people. We need to feel close with them. And I think that has been one of the things that has made me feel so frustrated and angry in the last few weeks, is that I feel like things have happened in the world that have shown me how disconnected we truly are, how we can see the same thing happen and have two completely different perspectives and two completely different narratives of what's happened. And it um it's disheartening. I feel discouraged by it because I know how important everyone being connected is, and it is hard to imagine a world where we don't agree on what I think to be simple things, right? So this is what I'm working through. And the touch aspect reconnects us. Oxytocin is really important part of how we respond to physical touch in the brain. It acts on neural circuits and receptors in the brain in the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex that have a lot to do with emotion processing, how we process an emotion, bonding, social cues, being able to perceive things when we're in groups. And it is, we understand oxytocin the most when we think about a mother bonding with a new baby, right? So it's that maternal bonding hormone. But the same hormone is released in a long embrace with a partner, someone we care about, a child. And it helps us feel good. It's a reward neurotransmit hormone. So we feel good because we have it out. Oxytocin is funny though, because it can change based on the environment. So, where we think about it in this way as like a bonding um, factor where we feel closer with someone when we have oxytocin, oxytocin can also work in the reverse, where we get a reward for feeling like we're identifying an outsider or blocking ourselves out from an outsider. It's a very tribal, again, one of these kind of like animal instinctual aspects of the human body that says, I'm safe when I'm with my tribe, and I'm safe when I exclude people who aren't in my tribe. And that's why oxytocin can be challenging when it is giving us reward to exclude people. Okay. So I want you guys to be aware of that, where pay attention if and when you get a high after calling someone out or excluding someone because you're using oxytocin in a wrong way. And it's much more beneficial to the body when it's used because we're bonding with someone or we're connecting with someone. And it is a major life hack to be able to use oxytocin in that way and prevent yourself from being engaged and rewarded by excluding people, especially when we're getting into these areas where things are so divisive. So just some things to think about. We can use it to build trust, or we can use it to separate ourselves even further. And you guys, just build the trust. We need to stay in touch with our human nature. We need to stay in touch with the fact that we're all creations of God, and demonizing people and creating further lines of separation does nothing but continue to bring our whole society down. And we're a month into 2026 and people are stressed to the max and experiencing all of these labile emotions all over the up and down, up and down. And we need to take personal responsibility for what we're consuming on media, what we're consuming in music, what we're choosing to allow ourselves to continue to think. And we have to be personally responsible on some level. If you are continuing to put yourself in situations where you are feeling a sense of suffering, it's a choice. And I know that's hard to hear sometimes. And I know it's hard to feel out of control or like things are happening to you, but you're not a victim. You have plenty of choice in your life. We live, despite the crazy right now, we live in the best country in the world. You have access to more things here than you could have ever imagined anywhere else. And you are blessed. Okay. You are blessed and highly favored. Keep that close to you. Um, so some basics, some easy doers. I'm going to go into a little bit of traditional Chinese medicine in this section, so hang with me. I learned Chinese medicine through my massage schooling, and I was able to apply it in way more of my life than I ever imagined. So I'm just going to explain some of that background to you. My husband calls me like airy fairy when I go into this stuff, but like hang tight. You might be able to take away a lot. One of the things that I think that is most important when we're feeling super stressed out is to cut out as much substance as we can. So if you consume a ton of alcohol, now's the time to stop. Especially alcohol. So alcohol is related to the liver, right? The liver is kind of like our blood cleansing center. Alcohol is a poison. The liver is responsible for cleansing it. In Chinese medicine, we have energy meridians, meaning lines of energy that flow through our body. Disease happens when there are blockages in those meridians. Each meridian is uh, based on an organ or an organ system, and they come in pairs. So the proper functioning of the pair together creates a yin and yang, okay, that balance in those meridians, and we experience full health. So the liver meridian is paired with the gallbladder meridian. These are our two, okay? The liver meridian is associated with emotion regulation. It's associated with anger, frustration, stress, okay? So if you're already stressed and then you're agitating the liver with poison, alcohol, and you're forcing it to process through this poison while it's already under stress, it's going to amplify those base emotions, going to amplify your stress, it's going to amplify your irritability, it's going to amplify your anger. So don't do that. Okay. If you find that that resonates with you and you're experiencing that, take a step back. The flip side of that is the gallbladder meridian. The gallbladder meridian, gallbladder in Western medicine releases bile so that we can digest fatty foods. We can digest rich foods, thick things that are hard to get through. Okay, hard to digest. So when you apply that to emotion, it's the same thing. Things that we're having a hard time dealing with, things that we're having a hard time getting through, things that we're having a hard time digesting. Okay. And so when we think about gallbladder, it's also like this indecision, inaction. We feel stuck. And that's when gallbladder gets irritated. So we have this balance of inaction when we have gallbladder meridian when it's out of balance, and then we have anger and irritability. And so those two together create this perfect storm of feeling powerless, feeling stuck, feeling angry, feeling like you need to fight, feeling agitated, feeling like you can't process what's going on. Okay, sound familiar? Did to me. That's why I'm saying that. No judgment, y'all. I'm talking about myself. And noticing, like, oh, maybe my digestion isn't going right. Maybe I feel like constipated or diarrhea, and I'm not processing things well. Or little things my kid is doing are sending me over the edge, and then I feel ashamed afterwards because why did that bother me? These are all symbols that that stuff is out of balance, y'all. So one Western thing we can do is cut the alcohol, increase your water, increase your sleep, improve your diet to have more fiber in it so you can get through stuff. Reduce some of the heavy fats so you're not releasing as much bile. That'll balance that stuck, that grinding against stuff. And then the Chinese medicine version of this is going to be acupuncture and acupressure, which acupuncture is with a needle and sometimes heat and stimulation. And acupressure is using the same meridian points that acupuncture does, except we are able to just use pressure with our fingers to create the stimulation that the needle would from an acupuncturist. So I'm going to give you 2 points, 2 acupressure points that you can work with if you're feeling high levels of anger or frustration, to just help you move through it. Okay. Yeah, not ironically, the first point is called Liver 3, which is nicknamed the Great Surge. Okay, this is a really accessible point on the foot. I'm gonna put a picture up so you guys can see. But it is great for addressing emotions like anger, irritability, and frustration. It's on the top of our foot between our big toe and our second toe. And if you come back about 2 finger widths above the webbing where your toe splits, it's right there. So if you were to feel your bone up your knuckle of your toe and walk up one more bone where you feel the tiny kind of triangular shape where your two metatarsals break off, that's where you're going to find it. Like I said, I'll show the picture. And then the second one is liver 14, and this one is nicknamed the Gate of Hope. And this is for stress and emotional pain that is manifesting in chest or rib tightness. So if you feel like shortness of breath, if you feel like you can't get a deep breath, for me, this manifests as pinched shoulder. I just got over a pinched nerve in my lat and my shoulder up under my breast. It was burning, a burning sensation, basically deep to my rib. And ironically, this one is located in the rib. I can kind of show you this one. If you were to kind of draw a line straight down from your nipple and come down and feel like your base floating rib here, it's going to be like 3 levels up in that intercostal space, meaning in between your two ribs. And when you're doing acupressure, you can kind of see here, you can make little circular movements. Now, if you feel a nodule or you feel sensitive to that pressure, you would want to go in like a counterclockwise direction. Like think about unwinding that energy if you sense a blockage there. And then the opposite would be true, that if you feel like it feels empty or hollow and you don't feel like there's any energy there, you can rub in a clockwise direction, and that can start to help generate the energy flow there. And then when those meridians are operating naturally with each other without any blockages, you're not going to be as irritable. You're not going to have that underlying anger. You're not going to read a headline and be instantly triggered. And if we can start to modulate some of that energy and be responsible for our emotions and our emotion regulation and start to identify, okay, I'm at a 75 on aggravation. I need to shut my phone off right now and walk away and go take a walk with my dog until I feel better. That's what you need to do. Don't sit in your shit. Do something about it. The last thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is a concept that is super challenging, but super simple. This concept changed my life. I'm going to be honest with you. Um, but that doesn't mean that it happens overnight. But it's called radical acceptance. And radical acceptance is this idea in DBT that there are obviously things that are outside of our control. There are traffic on the highway, or a coworker that doesn't do their job and complete a project on time, or we got travel plans canceled on us, or whatever it is. There are things in our life that are going to cause us distress that are outside of our control. When we come upon those things, we have a choice. We have a choice to get super aggravated in the traffic, cuss out the 10 people in front of us, honk our horn, let our emotions get the best of us. Or we can say, you know what? I'm going to listen to a podcast. I've been waiting to hear this one in full, and now I have the extra time. We have a choice. We're not going anywhere. Either way, we're stuck in the traffic. We could choose to have a negative mindset, or we could choose to have a positive mindset. The negative mindset leads us to suffering. Suffering happens when we choose to be upset about something we can't control. If we can't control it, again, we have this choice. We can either choose the positive mindset of it or the negative mindset of it. Now, in a lot of interpersonal relationships, it's much harder because radical acceptance includes giving the other person the benefit of the doubt. And if you're a person that likes to win an argument or be right, or, doesn't want to give grace, that is really, really hard. But my comment to you would be, it doesn't make you better for it. If you're suffering and you're miserable all the time because you're choosing not to let things go that you don't have control over, you're going to feel that way the rest of your life. There's no hero that's going to come and save you from your own suffering because it's choices you're making. And I don't mean that in a denigrating way, I mean it in an empowering way. If you want your life to be different, do something different. Change your mindset on something. Choose to let something go. Um, I am super grateful, honestly, to my husband on this one. When we met, I was very sensitive and I had a very thin skin. And my husband is a very direct person. And he, in communicating with me, got me to a point where I was practicing radical acceptance on a regular basis. And I feel more peace now than I ever have in my life because I choose not to let every single little thing trigger me. And I choose not to be offended. At some point, you have to walk away from offense. At some point, you have to choose not to be triggered by every little thing someone says to you or every little thing you read. At some point, you are in control. Um, I think that the biggest mistake that people have in thinking about their emotions and their brain is that somehow their brain and their emotions are in control, that they just have to follow the wave of whatever they're feeling. You don't. Your brain and your emotions are not in control. They're just releasing chemicals that make you feel a certain way. What's in control is your consciousness, your thoughts. What you're choosing to think is creating a chemical response in your body that you experience as emotion. If you are constantly thinking negative and hateful things, you're going to experience that chemically in your body on a daily basis. It's going to cause disease in your body. If you are choosing to have positive and happy thoughts, the same is going to be true. You're going to have positive chemicals released in your body. It's going to create health in your body and in your organs. You're going to experience greater sense of peace, vibrancy, life, joy. Don't we all want that? So I know it's not easy, but practice. What's one thing that irritates you all the time that's not going to change? Get over it. Get over it. Move on. Radically accept that you don't have control over that thing and you are not going to let it bother you and suffer anymore. Again, I know it's forthright. I'm sorry I'm not being as sensitive, but radical acceptance isn't about sensitivity. Radical acceptance is about smack out of it, get over it, grow up. There are many things in our life that we are not going to be able to have control over, and choosing out of suffering is one of them. So, that's what I got for you guys today. Look into DBT, guys. Look into SUDS, the SUDS scale. Start thinking about seeing like when you feel yourself get emotional, if you can start to identify the emotion and then rate it on a scale. And that self-awareness will just start to help you build like, oh, when do I need to calm down? Because I know that when I reach a 65 on something, my heart rate's elevated, my hands are sweating. And when I notice those things start, I go right to a distress tolerance skill. And then you stay in that logical thought. You stay in control because, again, once you're past 70, you're not in rational thought anymore. Um, so that's an important thing to remember. Uh, this was good, guys. I needed a break from the political stuff. I had like a bad emergency injury happen, and I've been in and out of surgeons and everything. So I haven't been around. I'm sorry I've missed you. And I really didn't want to come back and talk about all the crazy stuff. I'm gonna come back and try and help us all survive it. Um, I am out of school for a couple weeks, so I'm gonna be able to be doing more regular shows. I hope you like my new setup. Please leave me a comment, um, and let me know what you think. I'd love the feedback. Thanks, guys.